Hey guys, continuing on with my year of Star Wars reviews, we're going to be looking at Solo, A Star Wars Story. Now, some of you guys might be wondering, why in the world am I reviewing Solo, A Star Wars Story, even though I already reviewed it last year? Well, there's a couple reasons. Well, one of them is that I've been doing a year of Star Wars reviews this year and basically reviewing every Star Wars movie that has come out, including the animated shows and all that stuff, leading up to the release of Rise of Skywalker, which will end the Skywalker saga. And it just felt like the perfect time to talk about this movie yet again, because I still have a lot to talk about with this film, and also I wanted to just sit down and rewatch this film and see if I had any new inklings about it, if I thought anything new about it, and what my overall thoughts of it are after not watching it for several months and finally revisiting it. So that's one of those reasons too, as well as that review came out a year ago, and since then I have greatly improved in my movie reviews on YouTube, and at least I think I have. And even though I love that review that I did, and I'm very proud of what I did in that review, I still think I can improve and give my full thoughts on the movie here. So if you have watched my review of Solo, A Star Wars Story, you might be getting some of the same things that I talked about there here, but just with new context and some new stuff added into that I've learned about this film along the way since I last talked about it. But anyway, let's get started. First off, the movie was directed by Ron Howard and stars Alden Ehrenreich, Emilia Clarke, Woody Harrelson, and just a bunch of other people. This is a really good cast, guys, and I really do love the cast in this film. And I know some people aren't the biggest fan of Alden Ehrenreich as Han Solo, but I absolutely love him in this film. And rewatching him, what I think he does such a great job of being, and what people have such a hard time about, is that, no, he is not Harrison Ford, and he shouldn't be, and he doesn't try to be in this film. He tries to emulate the spirit of the character of Han Solo, and I thought that was a brilliant idea, because if you just try to be Harrison Ford, you're just pretending to be an actor playing another character, and you're not actually the character. And I think Alden Ehrenreich does a great job of becoming Han Solo, a much younger Han Solo that isn't fully up to what he is in A New Hope, which I thought was really good. And they give him some different struggles throughout this film that I really did enjoy, and made him still the character that we love, but something a little bit different, a little bit younger and unrefined, which I thought was cool. And I just think he does a great job, and he doesn't do a Harrison Ford impersonation, which is great. You can separate the character from the actor. People say you can't do that, and yes, you can. Because a character is not an actor, and an actor is not a character. So, you know, just understand that from this point on. Also, I love all the other characters in this film, of course, like, well, Chewbacca, and also Tobias Beckett, and Kira, and just all of them just do a great job of being these supporting players in this film, as well as I love our villain, Voss, who is a very interesting villain, and something we're not used to seeing in Star Wars, really. He is just a scumbag of a villain. He is calculating, he is very interesting and very polite in a lot of ways, and I think he's just played beautifully. I think all the actors do an excellent job in this film, and I will say this as kind of a criticism as well, even though I do like this. A lot of people, when they talk about this movie, they talk about how great Donald Glover is in this film. And I like Donald Glover in this film. I think he does a fine job, but he does something that I'm praising Alden Ehrenreich for doing. Donald Glover just ends up doing an impersonation of Billy D. Williams as Lando Calrissian, and that was what was really disappointing, because he was kind of my draw for this film. I thought, like, that was perfect casting, and it ended up just being really disappointing that he's just kind of playing the actor, playing the character, and not really delving into that character, and it just feels like an impersonation, whereas Alden Ehrenreich is really playing Han Solo, I feel at least, and I thought, even though it was disappointing, it was still a fine performance overall. But yes, all the performances in this film are really good, and I care about the characters. Even some of the smaller roles, such as Thandie Newton's character earlier on in the film, as well as Jon Favreau's character, they have small little bits throughout the film, or throughout the first act of the film, and you know what? I cared about them more than any of the characters in Rogue One. I'm going to be comparing this movie a little bit to Rogue One, since it seems proper, since this is yet another Star Wars story, and Rogue One was a Star Wars story. I just cannot get into the characters of Rogue One. I can't care about them when you're supposed to. I just didn't find any of them interesting. But here, I really like all the characters in this film, and I love the actors playing them, and it gives me a reason to care for them, even when they have such small roles in the film, which I thought was really, really cool. I also love how this film is very much a space western. In fact, if you go on Wikipedia, that's what this film is described as, and it truly is. It's like one large heist film. It's got a western vibe to it, especially during the train scene where they're trying to steal stuff, and it's absolutely just a blast to watch, and that was something that I was really happy with when I was rewatching this film, just how exciting, funny, and just enjoyable the film was overall. It doesn't try to be super large or just big on a grand scale or anything. It's a much smaller film, whereas Rogue One was so self-serious. This film just has so much fun with itself, and I think that's a testament to the writers of this film, Lawrence Kasdan and his son, which Lawrence Kasdan said he wanted to make a movie that was a little bit goofy, and he just did a great job with this. This movie has some goofiness to it, and it's playful, and it's just a lot of fun compared to Rogue One, which was so serious and so bland at times that I just couldn't care at all, even though the film itself was beautiful to look at. And that's one criticism I can say with this film, is that the film is not a beautiful film. It is kind of ugly, and a lot of that is due to the cinematography in the film, and that's the biggest disappointment of this film. Like, Star Wars films have been looking gorgeous since the new trilogy and Rogue One. However, Solo just looks so drab and dull and lifeless and black, and you can't really see anything in the film, and it's really sad because I'm having such a fun time watching the film, but I can barely see what's going on, which is kind of disappointing. But other than that, like, I still really enjoy the film, but, like, just the fact that I can't see is really disappointing. But also, I just love the action in the film. I love the characters, how they interact with each other. I think it's all just really great. And also, something that I learned about with this film that I actually didn't know about when the movie came out was that this film has actually been in the works for a long time. So, back before we had The Mandalorian, which is the first live-action Star Wars series, George Lucas planned a live-action series called Star Wars Underworld, which was going to take place between the events of Episode 3 and Episode 4, and one of the things in that show was going to delve into the origins of Han Solo. And even if you think about it, Han Solo was originally going to be in Revenge of the Sith before Lucas edited the script. And I'm glad we didn't get that version, but it was an interesting idea that this was a concept for this movie was already in the workings with this series, and then it eventually just spawned into its own movie. Lawrence Kasdan was going to return, and it is really interesting that this idea continued from where George Lucas was going to produce and work on it, and then carried over into this new era of Star Wars, and this film finally got released. So this is a film that has been in the works for maybe even 10 or so years, which I think is crazy, and seeing it brought to the big screen is kind of interesting and really cool, and it is so sad that this film bombed really, really hard. Like, this movie only made $300 million some dollars, compared to all the other movies which were making $1 billion. It's really sad that this film just didn't gravitate towards audiences, that people really gave this a bad rap, and I think a lot of that is due to the fact that, well, it had so much controversy around it. Especially with Lord and Miller and how they filmed a majority of the movie and then were just kind of gone. They were fired, and then the film was basically reshot. 75% of it was at least reshot and replaced with Ron Howard, which I'm glad we got Ron Howard. But yeah, there's just so much controversy around this film, around the making of it. But what was so surprising to me watching the film back when I saw it and watching it again is you watch it and unlike something like Rogue One, it feels like nothing has been tampered with it. It feels like a complete film and a complete vision. Whereas Rogue One, it feels like a mess. When you watch that film, you can tell things were cut, things were reshot, and rearranged, and it just feels like a very, very messy film, and something that I just can't get into. But this film is so exciting, so fun. I love the characters, I love the actors, and it's just overall a fun space adventure, and it doesn't have to be anything more than that. It doesn't have to be this grand epic of just completing a plot hole that people say is in A New Hope and, you know, basing an entire movie around that. It's just another space adventure that, sadly, I don't think people really wanted, and it is really sad because this movie set up a sequel that I was really interested in and was really interested in what it could do and how this series would take off. I was interested in seeing some of these characters again, but sadly, it just doesn't look like we're ever going to get that, which is disappointing to say the least, because I love this so much more than Rogue One, and I will never understand why people love Rogue One and don't care about this movie, where Rogue One just doesn't have any interesting characters at all. It's bland, it's boring. The only thing it has going for it is the beautiful cinematography, the beautiful CGI, and just the fact that I guess it takes place before episode 4 and is kind of like a perfect prequel to it. But this one has so much character. It's just a lot of fun. It's a heist movie. It's a western. It's just got a lot of stuff going for it that I absolutely love. And I just hope that this film gets more love as it ages. And I don't want this movie to be forgotten, because I think this movie is really, really good, but I would like to see Alden Ehrenreich in this role of Han Solo again. I'd like to see these characters again, and since Lucasfilm is focusing on, after Rise of Skywalker, going into more of a TV direction, maybe we can get a couple of sequels of Solo in the form of a TV miniseries for Disney+. That is what I hope can happen. I hope it happens, because I really want to revisit these characters, and see the story continue, because we kind of leave off on a little bit of a cliffhanger. But yeah, guys, that's really my thoughts on Solo. Of course, I probably repeated a bunch of stuff that I said in my last review, but I just wanted to talk about what I really do like about this film, and there's still stuff I don't particularly care for. I don't care for the L3 droid. Some of her jokes are just a little grating. I don't care for the cinematography at all. It's just a very ugly looking film, but it is still a fun film with fun actors, fun characters, fun moments, and is overall a consistent film compared to Rogue One, which is, I still do not understand why people love that film. I can understand people, like, maybe thinking it's alright, but I just cannot get into that film, and I can really get into this film. I can rewatch this film anytime. It's a blast. I'm gonna give Solo, a Star Wars Story, a 7 out of 10. Yeah, guys, if you watched my last review, I did give this movie an 8 out of 10 originally, but upon rewatching it, even though I really do enjoy this film, it is kind of a 7 out of 10. It's a good movie. It's not a great film, though, but it is still a fun film that I can see myself going back to from time to time to rewatch it and enjoy these characters. But anyway, guys, that's all I got for you. I hope you enjoyed this re-review. I guess that's what I'm going to be calling this. I'm going to be branding it re-review. I don't know if I'm going to be doing re-reviews of other reviews that I've done or not, or if this is going to be a one-time thing. But I wanted to do this. I wanted to talk about this movie again for The Rise of Skywalker and just give my updated thoughts, which, as you saw, I still really do like this film and still think it's extremely underrated. But anyway, guys, that's all I got for you. So as always, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. And may the Force be with you.